Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Real Talk with E. I'm your host Ahmad Arshad, and today again I have a very good friend of mine with me, Ehsan. And interestingly, he's somebody who's actually left Canada and kind of moved back for his next part of life back to Pakistan. So it's a very kind of interesting thing to change things around. So Ehsan, welcome to Real Talk with E, man.
How you doing?
Good, man. Good to have you here, bro.
Thanks for having me.
In the
So
flesh.
I didn't move back.
Okay.
The interesting thing. So
Yeah.
I was born in Pakistan,
Okay.
but I think I was like 4 or 5.
Okay.
So it is technically back, but I've never lived in Pakistan.
So born in Pakistan,
Yeah.
and until you were 5, you said.
Till about,
And then
4 or 5.
after that?
I grew up predominantly between Saudi,
Okay.
US and Canada.
Where in Saudi were you?
I was mostly in Riyadh,
Okay.
and then I did high school in Khubar.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I did high school in 3 different countries. I did Khubar,
Okay.
Houston, Texas,
Okay.
and Toronto.
Oh, so
where we
from Saudi you moved to the States, I guess.
No, from Saudi, I actually moved to Canada.
Okay.
Prior to that, I was in Houston.
And so you went to Canada. What year was this?
I went in 2005. So my
Okay.
dad moved to Canada in, I think, the 60s.
Okay. Oh, nice. Yeah, the OG.
He went to McGill.
Okay.
To get his CA.
Okay. And did he
to
party in Montreal a lot? I'm assuming.
No, he says he just went to pray. So.
Yeah, we don't believe that at all. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Abu.
Okay.
So I went to Canada, and then I did 6 months of high school in Toronto, and then I moved to London, Ontario for university. So I went to University of Western Ontario,
Okay.
and then I graduated from Richard Ivy School of Business and Finance.
Okay. By the way, you don't have to. He's married, so you don't have to give your bio data like you're trying
Okay,
to
I thought that's what you wanted.
sell yourself so much. But so Pakistan, Saudi, Canada, Texas, and eventually though settling into Canada.
Yeah, I was
Right,
settled.
right.
That's still home in my
Right,
heart and
right.
mind. You know, it's still the
Yeah.
closest to home.
Okay, so 05, you'll say you started the journey back to the West, maybe,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And then we met in 2012, I would say,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
After Ramadan, after like an iftar, Ramadan or Tarawih
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right before Tarawih, actually, we just
Yeah.
and then I think we just sat in a parking lot. And
Yeah,
just
yeah, we
chatted all
sat
night.
outside Starbucks.
Was it
at-
Starbucks?
it's a
Tim
different
Hortons.
time.
It was Tim Hortons.
I'm sure it was Starbucks,
Was
but
it?
yeah, it was in Mississauga outside the movie theater, like Square One, by Square One.
Okay.
That's
Good
where we
memory.
met. Yeah, no, I remember clearly.
It's
That's
very
words.
cute though that you actually remember
Yeah,
where we met.
yeah.
I like that. Thank
We
you.
do. I remember when I met my wife too, so I remember all the. It's not legit. When I met you, yeah, because Ali Shakil, our boy, who hope he's watching, is the one who made us meet. So, the reason I wanted to bring you on the show
Yeah.
was one because it doesn't cost me because you're a friend
Yeah,
and it's free,
that's
so I
right.
got you on,
That's
right?
I got you.
But importantly, I find it really interesting. Look, most of us, right, have either people move from this part of the world, or let's just say subcontinent to the West or the Middle East,
Yeah.
right? Or you have people like me who have moved from the West to the Middle East, which seems like a more common thing now.
Yeah.
A lot of people are kind of coming back, but it's a very rare occurrence to hear that somebody left U.S. or Canada
Yeah.
to move to Pakistan.
Yeah.
Or India for the matter, whatever.
Yeah.
So that is what I find really interesting. And I know we've spoken about that, but I feel like that's an interesting thing to discuss is why would you make that crazy move, man?
So I think to dissect that, I have to go a little bit in my career to explain it. So
Yeah.
when I graduated in 2009, I joined an investment bank. I did that for about 7 years collectively at a few different places. And then I started my own sort of e-commerce logistics company. And I think one of the reasons I left investment banking and started my own thing was this element of being able to empower people and help others. And I think, I definitely didn't get that sense in investment banking.
Yeah.
Which
That's
is
when
why
you
I
sold your soul, right?
Yeah, that's when I sold my soul.
Yeah.
And I think when the opportunity with Daraz in Pakistan came, it was sort of like in Canada you have 30 million people or 30 some odd million people, right? If you want to change, let's say you want to change 3 million lives, you have to change 10% of the population's life. That is, you have to come up with something really impactful.
Okay.
In Pakistan, if you want to change 3 million lives, there's 225 million people. It's very doable. And so for me,
Interesting.
you know, and I think there's always this element in every overseas Pakistani to be able to do something for your country. And I'm sure similar to myself, if you were in any of those circles where there's just discussions of cricket and politics, you come to a point where you're like, either do something about it or shut up.
Yeah.
You know, so
you always had that patriotic thing in you?
yeah,
Right, you did.
that
right?
I think definitely growing up, even though I never lived in Pakistan, and I was actually trying to dissect it recently. Why? And I think it comes back to cricket.
Okay.
Actually, I think a lot of it comes back to cricket, which is why I think cricket is very important for Pakistani cricket to be successful. Actually, because I think it breeds this element of of closeness to the culture. But anyway, so I think this, when the opportunity to sort of do something for your country, and I think being able to do that at scale was something that really got me interested. And the second thing that got me very interested was this. I like being uncomfortable. I think it's sort of my, like whenever I get comfortable, I get complacent. So this was in my mind, I want to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, but if we take a step back, right?
Yeah.
So fine, you can have these, right? Like you and me are always having like Indian-Pakistan cricket banter, and like all those things. And people talk about politics and changing the country, but like you're sitting in Canada, you are married, you have you move from investment banking to entrepreneurship, right? You had your own startup. But how does one even be like, okay, so I want to make a change, but like, would you just go apply online? Like, how does that even come about, right?
So I didn't apply.
Right.
And I was at that phase in my life where I was kind of thinking, should I continue with my startup? We'd raised money, burned through the money, hired 50 people, fired 50 people, gone through that whole process and in trying to make it work. And I was at that point where I was trying to figure out, do I want to continue, building this? Do I want to go back into work? So I wasn't actively looking. And coincidentally, someone, a recruiter from Singapore actually reached out.
Right. And this is around what time are we speaking now? What year is this?
This was in end of Ramzan in 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, the last few days of Ramzan in 2018.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm sitting in Makkah.
When all this is happening?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy, bro.
So then I decided just to speak to them. And I had a conversation with the lady said, look, why don't you just talk to the CEOs? Because I was kind of like, I'm not sure if I'm super interested. So I had a call with one, there was two co-CEOs at that time of Daraz. And the minute, as soon as the first call ended, I was like, man, like this, like you get I got immediately a very good vibe from the first individual. So he said, look, why don't you talk to the other guy? So I spoke to the second one, and again, I got a very good vibe. And when you sort of talk to people and you seem like your wavelengths are aligned. Right. It was to essentially be the managing director of Daraz in Pakistan.
All right, and just for everybody, if you can explain what Daraz is to begin with.
Yeah, so Daraz is the largest e-commerce player in Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Myanmar. I'm responsible for the Pakistan business. We have about 1,300 employees or so in Pakistan.
Oh wow! Okay.
And about 100,000 sellers. And I think that's the element that actually got me, was this being able to really build entrepreneurship. And I still, to this day, what keeps me going at Daraz is knowing that what we are building is actually changing the country. I've seen it. I mean, I met a seller. We have a seller summit every year. One in Karachi, one in Lahore. Usually about 3,500 sellers in Karachi attend, 3,500 in Lahore attend. So I was leaving the one from Karachi, and this lady comes to me and she says, "Beta, ek second baat kar sakti hu?" And she was wearing a niqab, and I said, "Ji auntie bole." And I'll say it in Urdu because I think and she says, मुझे ब्रेन कैंसर हो गया था, तो मेरे पास कोई ज़रिया नहीं था आमदनी का और पैसे बनाने का, तो मैंने दराज पे दुकान खोली. आज मेरे पास कराची में टीम है, लाहौर में टीम है, और वीकेंड्स पे जो लड़कियां होती हैं जो पड़ोस में, मैं उन्हें सिखाती हूँ कि दराज पे कैसे बेचना है.
Wow, that's awesome.
And this is what I think is, at the end of the day, what I've realized, at least for myself, is that this element of community for me is very important. That I have to, whatever I do in my life, I'll have to do something that helps people. Inshallah, or at least I hope I can always do that. And that's my hope.
So a big element of trying to come back was about helping and giving back, as you just mentioned.
It was the biggest thing, because it was one of those that if I don't do it, I'll always wonder what if I did it. And if I do it, what's the worst that's going to happen? Like what? I'll fail. Big deal. Like what's the worst that'll happen? You know?
So let's just look. So you said investment banker for like 6-7 years or so, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you graduated from like one of the top universities in what you did.
Yeah.
And then you're going into startup. But how does one even get a call saying, come be the MD to something in Pakistan? Like, how does that even work? Right?
Yeah, I guess they were. I mean, they were looking for someone that had background in logistics, which I did.
Because of the startup?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then investment banking teaches you a lot about yourself as well. What's important to you, what's not. Because you go in there sort of thinking, okay, it's just money that's important, and then it's sort of, you know, as you do it, you learn a lot about what really matters and what doesn't matter.
So now you're thinking about this, because I remember we spoke about this too. One of those nights in downtown walking, you're like, I'm thinking of this move.
Yeah.
And obviously, you was talking to your friends, and I know you're so close to family, right?
Yeah.
And your family's majority in Canada, right?
Yeah, they're all there.
Your wife's family obviously is in Pakistan.
Yeah.
So now, did it take a lot of convincing others, or was it just like, I'm in Makkah, I get this feeling, alhamdulillah, let's go? Like, what is it?
So I think my dad is also a patriot. So I think when he understood why I wanted to do this, he was kind of, okay, you should do it. You should.
You gave him the same this reasoning.
Yeah, because it's truly it is authentic. Like I know that's why I did it, and alhamdulillah, I think this is why I still continue doing it. Is because I know that's it really is a change that I'm being able to spearhead in some ways. So they bought in. It was not easy to move. You know, like you said, my family lives there. My parents live there. And I used to be very close to my parents, right? And as parents get older, it gets tougher because they need you more. Yeah. So and I was very fortunate. I had an extremely supportive family. My brother, who was he kind of said, you should go do it, and whatever's needed here to take care of, I'll take care of it. And I think if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to take that risk. Without having that family to just say, don't worry, like we've got this. So you go ahead. So I think that helped a lot in me being able to sort of do it. I think it also helped that my wife's family was from Pakistan. I think if her family was not from Pakistan and both of us were going there, it would make it very difficult.
Yeah, and to even convince her then to convince somebody to make a move to Pakistan who lives in the West is hard, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I think she always wanted to move to Pakistan until we decided to move to Pakistan. Then she was like, I don't want to. Then I was like, I didn't really think we were moving. Yeah. But
over the entire time she was in Toronto, she always wanted to go. And I remember when she was going, she was like, I just got used to this place. Yeah, I remember that. I met you guys
witness there.
Because she was like, I just got friends. I just finished like school. And now this guy, amazing. That's for a different podcast. We'll talk about marriage.
We talk to her.
Fine. So now you've done that. You've convinced now. Is there ever fear from a career point of view at that point, which is, hey man, I'm going to go to a place where maybe the world and nationally or the West doesn't recognize Pakistani experience? Yeah. Was that ever a thought at that point?
There was, and the opposing thought to that was that it's Daraz is owned by Alibaba Group, so it's a big company. It's a big role. So it's it was, at least from the advice I got from people that I respect, it would not be much of a factor. Okay. And the biggest element for me, besides this sort of from a personal career development perspective, was will I learn or not? And I knew I would learn so much.
Of course. Yeah.
And that element was, to me that it's okay, even if it's someone puts it as a cross in my career, but I can go away saying I've learned more than I would have learned in any other situation. Yeah. Then that's a huge win for my career. No. Right? And I think I still value that a lot, is that every day you should be learning. And if you stop learning, that's when you really should think about, is this the right place for me? Because that learning element is, at least for me, very, very important in your career. And that's really what matters in your career to keep progressing as well. Yeah,
because when people like here, like when I'm in Dubai, like you do think about, okay, so trying to be in a multinational organization, because then eventually if you ever need to go to the West, that's recognized on a piece of paper, right? Yeah. Even though the local experience would be great, but that's always kind of in the back of your mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now you are now finally going back to Pakistan. Now, obviously, dude, you visit in the summers or whatever. You got married in Pakistan, so it's not like Pakistan is not known to you, right? Yeah. But of course, I mean, I think even for someone like me, being in Dubai, like living here with my parents, school, working is a complete different thing. Absolutely. So tell me about the first elements of like culture shock, what you got from a work perspective, whatever, like going back in this now new phase of life?
So one, I think, if you imagine Daraz, it's very young, like individuals are very young, right? The average age now I think is like 26, 27, and I think that's because people my age have joined. But it was very young, population.
Wait, it's got older, you're saying?
Yeah, it's gotten older.
So it's younger than 26?
It was even younger than 26, 27.
Okay.
There's maybe 25, 30% women. In fact, my own leadership team is 50% women, 50% men.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah, so...
Okay, so a lot of people wouldn't, I think this is for the even people watching, is that people wouldn't think that Pakistan workforce would be with so many women.
Yeah, and that's what I want to talk about is that it's, you would imagine, so from a work perspective, I entered into a workplace where I was working with extremely intelligent people. To be honest, I think Pakistan has some of the smartest people. I know I may be biased because I'm Pakistani, but I think a lot of people I work with can go toe to toe with the smartest bankers I've ever met. But on top of that, they have something that a lot of people didn't, which is that hustle, drive, and hunger because they needed it. They had to work for it. And so I love working at Daraz because of the people I work with. And I think that element it made my life a lot easier. I've met a lot of people, and when they've moved back to Pakistan, they're working at factories, it drives them insane. But I went back and I was working with people that are extremely intelligent.
Okay.
So that, I think from a career perspective, was a lot of fun. And I think at the end of the day, for most people, there's sort of three things I think that are important. It's family, friends, and work.
Okay.
Right? That's sort of where 95% of your time is spent, either your friends, your family, or your work. So from a work perspective, I'm still very happy because of the same reasons I talked about, the challenging work environment, the young people that we work with, that just, so that I think. And then second, friends, I've been very fortunate to make good friends over there.
Like-minded people?
Yeah, and that's something I was really worried about.
Right, because you'd think that there's like maybe an elitist...
elitist or just extremely polarized.
Right,
sort of either just sitting in masjids or the alternative.
And we're kind of like in the middle.
Yeah, and we're kind of sort of in the middle. Where, you can still... So I think... and alhamdulillah, I've been very fortunate to find like-minded friends.
Okay. Are these people who are born and raised there, or people like you who kind of have Western exposure? Okay.
Both. Some that have been raised in the U.S., some that have, either lived in Pakistan, have gone to school overseas. But I think that, that helped a lot as well, because if I didn't have that, I think it would have made it difficult. And for the first 6 months, in fact, I told Hamda, I was like, look, for the first year, don't bother me. I will not go to any dawat, I will not meet anyone, I will just work.
Right. Okay.
But then after 6 months of that, I remember she called me one day and she was like, look, if you don't show up to dinner tonight that we're invited to, we're done. So I was like, okay, I'll be there.
Now it's about family.
I'll be there. Yeah. So, I think, and then I think so friends, alhamdulillah, I was very lucky, work. But family, my parents and stuff still live there. So that's one element of it that's difficult. But yeah, that's how I think that there was an element of cultural shock because it was a new place. I think for me, Urdu was a bit of it took a little bit of learning.
Okay.
Even though I grew up speaking Urdu, but my Urdu is not super strong. Now it's become a lot better. In fact, I'm thinking in Urdu right now and translating. It's just you can't tell because I have an AI generative AI. I'm kidding. But now I can think freely in Urdu and English. But before, I remember I used to do a lot of these morning shows and stuff. And there was a time when I started speaking, and I just naturally I wanted to express myself properly, so I started speaking in English. And the lady who was interviewing me was, she was like, Urdu. And in my mind, I was like, man, I'm really struggling right now. So
which we don't naturally think about that we struggle. We feel like we're pretty alright in Urdu. But in that situation,
but now my Urdu's become a lot better too.
So on that Urdu, on the language note, right? Do you see you being more respected initially in the country because you're very fluent in English, or did you feel like you aren't connecting with people, or they're looking at you as a little arrogant or snobby because can't speak in our language, or we can't connect.
Speak, okay.
No, but you know what I'm saying,
but when I speak, you can tell that I'm not.
That's what I'm saying. Or you might speak an accent, or you might not have it perfect. So did you see it as a like a crutch, or did you notice that actually no, people actually are, English is what they really respect?
Urdu. The Urdu or the certain sort of accent in English I had was either looked positively or negatively upon. So I don't think I never felt judged because of that.
Fine. So if I go deeper in that,
Yeah.
and remove, what about just being, he's Canadian, he's Western, he's from the West. Surely that gives you an advantage, no, or something, or like the way people view you, or no?
I think what the one thing that I did feel was my age, that I always had as a sort of a negative. Like I would go to government meetings and like they would just sort of shake hands and then realize after that I was a person in charge, and they would kind of be shocked, and not to their fault. It just they sort of did not expect a person, a younger person to be leading it.
So age.
Yeah, age I felt obviously was one. Do I think because I was Western educated I was more, positively looked upon? I have never felt that. Maybe if you ask someone else who would be able to give a better assessment of that. I never felt that because I was sort of educated abroad or overseas, that I was treated any differently.
Did people ever feel who you're working with, right? Because you're talking about now an e-commerce platform where maybe these obviously sellers and the consumers can be even like small town people, right? So could anyone ever say like, bro, but you don't understand this culture, you don't understand these people. Yeah. How are you supposed to create this thing if you're not even from that land? Yeah. Because you're not really from there. Was that never a thing where like, hey man, I don't really understand the Pakistani mindset? Yeah. That was never a challenge?
Look, I think at the end of the day, you have to be very honest with yourself on things you do and do not understand. Yeah. And you have to surround yourself with people that make up for your weaknesses. And that's the job of a leader. I can't know everything. I shouldn't know everything. And my job is to surround myself with people that collectively we can tackle whatever problem is thrown at us. And that's what my role is, and to coach them and mentor them to be able to get to where we need to get to. So I think you have to first be very honest with yourself that what do I know and what don't I know, and not just with yourself, to be able to tell others that look, I don't know this. Yeah. I need your help in this area. And I think that vulnerability is super crucial for sort of the modern era CEO, because it allows you to surround yourself with people that'll help your cause. What's really important is to build an organization where people are behind that purpose, and that purpose is sort of innately, within them, and I think once you do that, then you can get the right people to overcome things like, I don't know about something about this market, or how do people behave in this market, or what should we do, and what sort of product should we build in this market. Those will, things that you'll have to come across. So as long as you're honest with yourself about what you know and what you don't know, surround yourself with good people that you can build it with, and you can overcome those things.
Okay. And now you gave the example of like that young guy in the government building, right? Yeah. Now government comes with bureaucracy, comes with its own politics and corruption and a different way of working than maybe Westerners are used to going in a government building. So like you never felt people to try to take advantage of you, knowing that, what does he know? Like he's not from here. Or like a Pakistanis call you burger, right? Yeah, like we can take this guy for a ride because he doesn't really know how things are done. Yeah. That was never a thing that happened?
No, it never happened. I think you have to be smart. You can't go into any place, whether it's Pakistan or any other culture. If I went from Pakistan to Canada and was oblivious to the culture there and the cultural norms and how things work, you can't do that. You have to be smart enough and adaptable. And I think that's alhamdulillah, I'm a very adaptable person. I think largely because I moved around so much that I kind of had to adapt. Yeah. It's just like what I had to do. Yeah. So I can get used to cultures relatively quickly. And then I think again, I really do believe that surrounding yourself with really good people and really making sure that they have the same values as you. Yeah. It really makes sure that all of you protect each other and are able to get to where you want to get to. So maybe something slips through me, but then I know there's someone who's got my back. Yeah. And that's the same thing that applies to a lot of people in my team. That something might slip through them, but they know I've got their back as well. And so together we're able to build something that's super, super powerful. Yeah. So yeah, you have those instances, and you can see that someone sort of thinks that what does this kid know? But the kid knows, right? So when the kid knows, he's able to navigate around it.
Yeah.
And then you're able to make sure that you get the right people, so you can actually get done what you need to get done. I've had I've had to like sneak into the National Assembly to push for something that was passed against e-commerce. That and there's a lot of crazy things we've had to do as well to really make sure that we continue to push the agenda and the mission that we're on. But I think you can only do that if it's sort of that mission is inside you, and you're sort of like, no man, I gotta, whatever it takes, I gotta do what I gotta do.
So if you have like, I don't know how many people watch or listen, but like any young undergrad coming out who like finds Daraz to be an exciting opportunity, what would you tell them? How do you go about like applying or like getting more information?
You can go to our LinkedIn page. We have all the jobs there.
Okay.
And through that you can see we're always hiring. So you can see what roles we're sort of looking to hire, and I think that's the best way to do it.
Through LinkedIn.
So
okay.
LinkedIn, you can sort of see what's out there, and then you should go ahead and apply.
Obviously, when you go back to the subcontinent, right? Like there's this part, but like eventually when you step out in the real world, the real city, the real country, right? Like the real challenges. So coming from the West, like how do you deal with the things that maybe we see on the news in Pakistan, whether it's like your phone being mugged or like being like robbed, or I don't know, electricity problems, power, the currency going down, like the real stuff that maybe I'm assuming you feel, or you don't feel, I don't know, but like what about those things?
Yeah, you do. Look, a few years ago I told myself that if you want to live here, you have to have the mindset that you'll have to have a positive lens at whatever it is, and B, you'll have to ignore certain things and kind of say, it's okay.
Okay.
Water's out. Call the tanker. It'll come. Okay. He shows up an hour late. It's okay. It's not a big deal. And you'll have to look at the positives, because there is a lot of negatives, and it doesn't mean you're not realistic. You have to solve for them. Like I have a system that has solved for whenever I have electricity issues, if I have water issues, if I have any issues, I have systems that are
but
in
Alhamdulillah,
place.
obviously you are privileged.
Yes, absolutely.
Right,
so I think that I have systems that are able to tackle it. That's not the case, like you said, for everyone, right? And I do think that a lot of times the unfortunate thing about living in a country like Pakistan is that you probably are wasting 20% of your time on these sort of things. कि पानी खत्म हो गया, बिजली नहीं आ रही, ये खत्म हो गया, ये मसला है, बारिश हुई तो पानी घर के अंदर आ गया. So these sort of things, they definitely do take a toll on you, and they are exhausting, and especially if you're constantly having to deal with them. And so I think you have to either, for me, the way I was able to sort of solve is that these are some of the systems I'll put in place to be able to eliminate that headache. And then the things I can ignore, I ignore. And I've tried to enjoy the things I enjoy. Like I've always been outdoorsy, so I enjoy camping. I go camping in Pakistan. I go to Balochistan. I go to, and I really.
You're freaking to go biking in the mornings, which is like
I haven't been in a while, unfortunately.
But otherwise you would.
Yeah. So and you have to just still live your life. You have to enjoy life, and alhamdulillah, it's a good place. Like it's there's a lot of places in the world that are far, far worse. Like alhamdulillah, we have it's actually a fascinating city. Even the city of Karachi. I think I've told you before too. Is I think I would venture to guess that there's not many people in the city of 25 million people that go to sleep hungry, because there's so much charity. Any corner of the city you go in, people are feeding others. I remember when during COVID and people wanted rations, their month's supply of goods, and they would be standing on different streets. People would just come in cars and just be handing it out, and you don't see that in many different places in the world. Pakistanis are very giving. They actually, from a charitable perspective, they actually do a lot.
Political unrest, which obviously is something that they're like governments changing. Those things don't affect employment or.
They do.
They do.
Absolutely do. There's a lot of people that want to leave the country. There's times are not easy. I remember before there was times when people would leave for other companies. Now they leave for other countries.
You know, because I have some social media like content creator friends from Pakistan. Like a lot of them trying to leave. Some of them coming here, afraid of maybe speaking on certain topics and saying certain things. That is the truth,
I think
right?
a lot of people are trying to leave. And my thought also on this is that if you get good opportunities, it's okay to leave too. You can still do good things for your country.
From outside.
Yeah, not only from outside, you can learn from outside and come back one day. And that's also okay, right? Learn good things outside of the country. It's okay. So I think I don't get so spooked with people, oh, everyone wants to leave. It's okay, people will leave. Hopefully, if they're smart and they're well educated, they get good jobs. And I think they also, they raise sort of the bar for what is, what's perceived of as a Pakistani employee. And they do good work, and then they learn different skills, and then they're able to put it to better use. In fact, a lot of them, when they leave Pakistan, they come talk to me. I just tell them that, look, you should leave, but just don't forget this place either. Like, make sure you learn and then do good things. So and that's okay, right? It's nothing wrong with that. But of course, because of the political unrest, because of the depreciation of the rupee, the uncertainty from an economic perspective, some of the safety issues, people do want to leave, and you can't blame them. It's okay.
And your mind never changed because you became a father while you were there. Yeah. Right. So, especially to a daughter, like there was never a switch saying, "This doesn't feel safe. I'm out," or.
Never that thought. Look, this doesn't feel safe. I'm out. You look at things differently when you're a father. That's for sure. At the end of the day, Allah is the best of protectors. And so I'm not, I don't change the decisions fundamentally because of a perception of is this safe or not. Alhamdulillah, it's been safe. And inshallah, Allah continues to protect us and our families, and others in the country. It's I think it's never that sort of drastic thought has not sort of ever crossed my mind. Like, I'm done. I can't do this.
When you're like sort of like driving around or living life, like, is it a very stark difference in like how you live, and then you might see somebody kind of on the street or like a blue collar worker or something? Like, how's that? Because I'm not saying it's not there in the West, but like maybe it's more obvious in the subcontinent, right?
It definitely is, and it's very difficult. I think also this is an element that's difficult, where I'm actually glad that I was not raised in Pakistan.
Okay, because?
Because I think once you're raised in Pakistan, you get a little bit numb to it.
Desensitized.
Yeah. And I think I like to still feel it. I think I'm glad that I feel it. Because
like when there's like a beggar on the street, you still...
when you see someone who's differently abled, or they're going through some difficulty or hardship, or child, you still feel it. And I want to feel it. Because if I don't feel it, then I feel like what's left of me as a human.
Yeah.
And you definitely see a lot of that. And the other side is you're also able to do a lot.
Right.
Like I said, like if you're able to feed 500 people on an iftar, not many people can do that in North America, right? Just be like, okay, well, anyone just come and eat. Yeah. So those sort of things, I think you have those challenges in Pakistan. You get an opportunity that you can do more. You can pick up some of that slack. You can add value to the society. But that part does, it does definitely impact you. But I think over time you unfortunately become a little bit more desensitized to it. So you have to remind yourself that it should bother you. Yeah. That some of these things that are happening in the world, and some of these things that are, they're not okay, and you should feel it, and it's okay to feel it.
Give me some example before we started about this person from social media. You want to just talk about that? Like how are they utilizing your platform to do well for themselves?
Yeah, I was we started an affiliate, like KOL, an affiliate program, and what we've essentially done is that some of the affiliates can put up links of products that they would recommend, and we're really using it as a tool to market, rather than just sort of doing traditional online marketing, Facebook, Google, SEO, etc.
Okay.
And really using more the KOLs and affiliates because it's authentic. They're saying to buy something because they care about it, and their audience is able to reciprocate that. And in fact, just on 11/11, I think we had about 385 or 400 influencers and affiliates who made money off our platform.
You want to let people know what 11/11 is?
Yeah, 11/11 is sort of the largest sale that we do in the year.
This is November 11th, I'm assuming.
Yeah, November 11th.
Yeah.
It started because of they do it in China as well,
Okay.
Singles Day.
Okay.
And so some of these influencers are making in the almost over $10,000 a month. So
they're making $10,000 a month in Pakistan.
Yeah,
so that converts. Wow, that's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean it's not all of them, but some of them.
But that's insane. Okay.
So it's
and affiliate marketing is me saying that, hey guys, like for my podcast here, I use this in this camera.
Yeah.
Here's a link below. I'll get a certain percentage.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And because it's authentic, then you're like, yeah, I'm actually using it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I can actually vet that it's a good product, and it's something that I would recommend. And people who are watching you, they resonate with you, right?
Yeah.
They can relate to you, and I think this is where it's very powerful. What we do is that yes, on one side you have the sellers, you have the customers, but you have these creators as well that are all able to benefit off your platform. So the platform actually is able to really change lives, and the ecosystem. Like the entire ecosystem can develop because of this platform, and I think that's what makes it a lot of fun and powerful because it's limitless in some ways.
So, what advice do you give to like other? I don't know in your group or whatever. In our group, if there are other friends who've ever thought about, oh, I want to go back to Pakistan or India or whatever to make a change. So, what do you tell them?
Yeah, look, I think if it's the right opportunity, and I think if you're ready mentally for it, you should do it.
Yeah.
It's very rewarding in many ways, but it doesn't come without its challenges. There are lots of challenges. I probably am not able to, easily tell you a lot of the challenges because I've ignored a lot of them.
Yeah, because right now it sounds very utopian.
Yeah. I have ignored a lot of them, and I kind of just say, okay, this is.
So you need it's a certain kind of person, a certain kind of attitude that can do what you're doing. This is not for everybody then.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, absolutely not. But everything is not for everyone. You know what I mean? So I think it's definitely not utopia. That I can also confirm.
Yeah.
It comes with lots of challenges, and you kind of have to know which ones to ignore, which ones not to ignore.
So you were talking about your water tanker.
Yeah.
Had sewage, and I remember you telling me that you were taking a shower with this water tanker. For how long were you taking a shower with this thing?
I don't know, man. It didn't.
And you and your whole family, like Bichari, like Mariam and Hamza.
Yeah, just.
Oh my God. How long were you taking a shower in shit water? Like how long was this?
I don't know.
Okay.
Who knows? But certain things, like I said, you have to ignore certain things.
You have to when you're taking it. Fair enough.
Move on in life. Alhamdulillah, no one got sick.
Oh, alhamdulillah.
But those things, they do peeve you, right? They're like, man, like, what the hell? Like, it's water.
Yeah.
But then there's a lot of people in the world who don't have water.
Yeah.
No. Right? So it's not always so sunny and so perfect, right? So you have to be able to adapt. And right now, especially in what's happening in the world, it's a lot of difficult things are happening to people.
Yeah.
So you have to be thankful, right? And so there's a lot of difficulties, but alhamdulillah, life is also there's a lot of ease that Allah has given us, and and that. So I think this is with these difficulties and these challenges, you kind of I think that's why I ignore them to some degrees because man, like it's tough, but it's tough for a lot of people out there.
That's the thing,
and relative to them, it's alhamdulillah, God's been so kind.
Yeah.
Even then that sort of sewage water thing happened, like things kicked in within 24 hours, everything was fixed, right? Tuck.
Because your system, you have the system.
Yeah, because the system was there, it was done.
Yeah.
Right?
I was still angry. I am taking a bath and shit, do this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to take it a little bit differently here, like a different note, but from a perspective, obviously being Muslims, you are now technically going back to, or you went from a Western society to the Muslim country predominantly. How has that journey experience been? Has it been that more fulfilling from a religious perspective, or actually the opposite?
The opposite.
Yeah.
I definitely
I
feel
knew that, but I wanted to ask you that.
Yeah, I definitely feel my relationship with God was a lot better in Canada.
Okay, you gotta.
So why?
Yeah.
I think I think I made a lot more effort. I think also you get complacent when it's all easily accessible. When the masjid is right there, you don't work as hard for it. When everyone is, when everyone is the same as you, you don't necessarily work as hard for it. I remember in Canada, I used to take out time to study a lot more. I think in Pakistan, I don't necessarily do that. Maybe it's a little bit on me. I used to enjoy khutbahs for Jummah a lot in Canada.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy them the same in Pakistan, to be very honest with you.
Are the topics or things discussed in Urdu not as relatable or whatever as the ones we'd hear?
No, it's not the Urdu part. I think it's this. I think we were also very fortunate that we had a lot of people that would give khutbahs that were very educated, highly educated, almost scholarly type of people.
And that's such a fundamental difference back in the subcontinent, where like the religious leaders are unfortunately bichare the ones who are not.
There are some, right? There are some. I'm not saying all, but by and large, that's not the case. So, whereas I think we were very fortunate that we had people that were very, very educated that were able to really understand what message was important to who at what time.
And understand what the youth might be going through and talk to us directly. Yeah.
Right? I think it's different to hear someone, and I think this element also in North America that I really appreciated was this love for God. Not just the wrath of God.
Right. Okay. That's what you meant.
And of course, there you need to be fearful, but you also need to love God.
Right.
And
the Desi mentality is a dunda a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. So I think it's like this. I like that in North America that there was love was a very important part of it, and I think. So I think from a religious perspective, you would think otherwise going to a Muslim country.
Yeah.
But I personally, at least, I felt my relationship to God was a bit better. I think I'm not as good on that front as I.
And the thing is, I feel it's the same here too, right? Like living in Dubai, like alhamdulillah, I think the positives are look, we were out today before we were doing this, and access to masjid anywhere, right? So easily pray namaz when you're outside. Ramadan is amazing, just the conveniences of work hours being shorter, all that stuff is great. But that extra spiritual level, or those people around who want to learn and go out of the way, that was in Canada.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's
we used to have that in Ramadan there, if you remember.
Yeah, we did.
Qiyam late at night.
Yeah, and all that. Exactly. We used to make a lot of effort there, in many ways.
Here is this, it's not the same.
It's not the same, but I think it's also on us.
100%.
You have to own it. You have to fix it. You've got to do it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be done for you.
Yeah.
So I think even this part, like I'm telling you a little bit of how I feel about it, but I think I I should and could fix a lot of it.
I think it also has to do with like the level you're at in a sense, because like I think these places are great for somebody who just, hey man, I'm just not in the habit of, let's just say, praying or doing things, but hey, now I'm suddenly around people, everyone's doing it, or I'm in a place that's so easy, I'll do it. But if you're already at that base and now you're trying to get to that that next level, that's the harder level. Because now you're trying to find those kind of people, that is, I think, what is tougher here. But if you just want to get your base checklist done, it has to be easier.
Yeah, it has
just
to
because you have access everywhere. Right? You go to the, I go to the mall for a movie, I can just grab, pray in the mall, right?
Yeah.
But so in closing, I would like to, for what you're doing, because you said your aim was to come back and be able to help.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I'm hoping people are watching this who want to, what do you want to tell maybe the youth of Pakistan, right? The younger ones who, you work with a lot of young ones and you're seeing bright minds, hardworking hustlers, but others who are maybe growing up and maybe they feel a little bit like dejected by the situation, and maybe they feel like, oh, like yahan kuch nahi ho sakta hamara, like we have to leave, this place sucks. Like, what do you want to tell them?
I think, look, I think there's a reason hopelessness is also considered haram in Islam, right? I think you have to continue having hope.
Umeed.
It doesn't mean you're stupid, and if a good opportunity comes your way, you just sort of say, well, everything will be fine here. But you do have to continue going. You have to be hopeful that things will get better. You have to work. You have to do your part to make it better. It doesn't mean it's an easy road, but even I'm sure you must have also heard from a lot of things I've been saying. I ignore certain things, and I think it doesn't mean you ignore everything, but you have to know what are the things you have to prioritize, what are the things you don't have to prioritize. because it's not easy to keep yourself hopeful, especially in difficult times. Globally, they're very difficult times. In Pakistan, as well, they're very difficult times. But you have to continue to at least keep yourself positive, hopeful, and that, to me, I've found is the best way to continue going. You just got to take it one day at a time, keep pushing forward, one step in front of the other, and not necessarily think that, you know, I have to climb this to get to this peak. I have to keep going. I got to keep going. And I think that gets you a little bit closer to where you need to get to.
But good, man. Good conversation. Thank you, Ehsan, for being here, man.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
I knew some of these things that we talked about, but there's a lot of things that I did not even know. And I think what I take away a lot is it's a lot about the attitude. And maybe not just about you going to Pakistan, but I think in general in everything, because whichever country you're in or wherever you are, I think everyone's going to face different challenges in different moments of their life. And if whatever you can control, and you put in systems in place, like you said, then maybe you're able to be more optimistic or positive in those kind of situations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But that's it, guys. That's my episode with Ehsan and the podcast. You can catch it on YouTube. You can catch it on Spotify as well. Do support, like, comment, subscribe, all the things. Share with your friends. And hopefully there's some people out there who did actually benefit. If you're actually trying to maybe make a journey back to where you came from, or you're in Pakistan and want an opportunity, I'm going to put the links in for Ehsan. So yeah, thank you. Peace.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you, sir.